Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to this evening's meeting. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the District to be held at 105 Port Road, Portersville, Texas, on the 12th day of December 2018 at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the District on December 7th, 2018 at 3 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041-551-050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. Item 1, the Vice Chairman, which is the Chairman, calls the meeting to order in terms of presence of quorum. Notice of the meeting has been duly posted by law. We do have the presence of a full board tonight. Item number 2, invocation for the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, please bless us this day and let us have a good meeting and think about this time, season, Christmas, and we will be in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Moving to item number 3, invitation to the audience for public comments. Includes the staff, the board, public. Welcome. Nice to see all of the staff present this evening. Your voices are always welcomed at every meeting, and we look forward to hearing.
I just want to thank all the dudes who carted me and that better-looking guy around the other day. We had a lot of fun. It was really interesting seeing those big giant pipes down in the Rio Grande River, and it would be cool if the whole public understood how hard it is for us to get water. But I appreciate it. We had a good time, and we have some really nice infrastructure. You guys are doing a good job keeping it looking good, so keep it up.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, suggestions, anything? Thank you. Moving to item number 4, consider and discuss for possible approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on November 28th, 2018. So everyone had a chance to review the minutes. Questions, comments? Move we approve.
Second.
For approval made by H. Houston, seconded by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving to item number 5, consider and approve reorganization of the officers.
I'd like to make a motion to have Mr. Friedman continue as chairman.
I second.
There's been a first and second made. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed? Thank you. It's an honor to always serve for the Laguna Monterey Water District. Thank you, staff, board, for the confidence. We are moving
Vice chairman?
Vice Chairman. I nominate Mr. Houston as the Vice Chairman.
I'll second that.
There's been a second made by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Houston. Moving to Secretary.
Make a motion for Alex.
Motion made by Mr. Starkey for Mr. Avalos.
Second.
Second made by Mr. Adam. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me. Are there any opposed?
Mr. Avalos.
None?
Sorry.
Thank you. Motion carries.
It's because you can't say my last name yet, I guess.
That
Lalonde.
Lalonde and Avalos.
With a little D at the end. I guess it's a leftover French thing.
Okay, thank you. I have to be honest. We don't need to second the 2 directors following those.
You're on. Director.
So we're moving on to item number 7, is that correct? No, item 6. Consider and remove from the table the following item tabled at the regular meeting on November 28, 2018.
I move we take the table.
Motion made for removal by Mr. Houston. Second. Seconded by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The item is now off the table. Item 7, consider and approve reorganization of officers for the committee list.
Make a motion to approve the reorganization of the committee list.
Motion made by Mr. Starkey for the approval of the committee list.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lalonde.
Close enough.
Dr. Lalonde, excuse me.
As approved.
As approved?
Yeah.
Yes. That was first and second. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. We have been asked to move an item up for consideration and respect. I'd like to move item number 17 up. Consider and discuss for possible approval of general geotechnical engineering services for the proposed sludge lagoon at the water plant, plant number 2.
Right.
Richard?
Yeah, I'll bring up Richard and Rockford Miller from PSI. And so this is some additional work on the geotech for our water plant 2 sludge lagoon improvements. And Richard can open up with a status and then kind of give the proposal.
Sure. Thanks, Charles. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Richard Correa with Garver and Harlingen for the record. The 2 new board members, welcome. Good to have you all on board. A little bit of background here. We were contracted last year to assist the district with engineering services for some sludge drying beds at Water Plant 2. As we went into some greater detail, the scope of that project sort of shifted to a more cost-effective solution that consists of a new sludge lagoon as opposed to drying beds with under drains and sand and media, etc. In the work for revising this to a sludge lagoon, we determined that, or realized that the district has quite a bit of additional land in the proposed location where we were going to put this lagoon. I didn't come prepared with handouts, but you can see right here, this is what the original lagoon was going to look like. And when discussing this and presenting it to the board, we determined why not use a lot more of that land, right? So an original geotech was performed based on this proposed location, the original one. And the new lagoon layout looks like this, which is a much wider area.
So we're squared off.
Right, well, yeah, it's just a much larger area, more squared off, so we're trying to get a lot more volume and pack as much storage into this space that is available as opposed to the original design. So what we're requesting here today is a revised authorization from you guys for a revised geotech study. As a bit of a recap, the original geotech study was performed for that original location. Obviously, the boundaries have changed. And in addition to that, the original geotech revealed some information that includes some considerable settlement. We'd like to look into that in greater detail. And the proposed scope that you've got in your packet, Rockford Miller here with PSI can explain it in further detail, but we're hoping to investigate that a little further to include some design cues to mitigate that expected considerable settlement.
With this new lagoon, Bill,
Yes, sir.
we'll divert to that. The old lagoon then is available to us to clean up, correct?
The idea would be to add redundancy, and we can quit sending flows to the existing one. You're exactly right. Divert flows to the new one. Give that some time to fill up, and the other one some time to dry up, and then you can go in there and better dredge it or excavate it, clean it out. Yes, sir.
Is this still gonna have, we were talking the last time about having it, making it where you can drive around that levee. Even though we're taking up more space, we still can do that?
Absolutely, and that's one of the revised requests that we've got, or that I conveyed to Charles in the geotech supplement, is some recommendations to facilitate a driveway around the entire perimeter.
Kind of connect the whole
Correct.
thing with the other.
Right.
Right.
Yes, sir. And that's a good note to make as well, sir. As you can see right here, on the west side of the proposal, we're trying to utilize the existing embankment that's available. We don't know anything about that soil, so we're trying to get a little more information of that embankment soil to determine suitability for the city.
Do you know, somebody, if we can create another access road from the highway on that side?
Yeah, that's all our property.
That's our plan to do another entry and.
Okay, so we have access up to the Highway 100.
The reason being that the 18-wheelers that go in to drop off chemicals, they have a hard time going in and then backing up. So if we go in and out, either side.
Can you add
we can
another
add-
one automatically, or do you have to get text off the move? To add an additional
We might have
entry on
to
highway?
go to
Get a driveway
TxDOT
permit.
to get a permit.
You can do it openly?
Yeah, and you also have to remember, since we're also looking at land application there,
Right.
I mean, we want to create a permanent haul road, so when we're cleaning, we'll have that area where we can spread it out, when we do the maintenance.
That's right.
Will that kind of happen in conjunction with the project now?
Right.
I think this is a much more cost-effective method of what we're wanting to accomplish.
Yes, sir.
So saying that, I would recommend approval.
I'll second that.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Motion made by Mr. Houston, seconded by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Motion passed. None opposed, nothing
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for moving the item up.
Yes, good evening. We'll resume back to item number 8, General Manager's Report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have the audit committee meeting that's coming up as soon as, I'm thinking that possibly by the beginning of the year would be the best time to meet and discuss the update on the audit. And we need to move forward on that one. So I don't have a calendar up here, but possibly the 2nd of January, the 3rd, if y'all are available, I think it's audit committee. We'll go back to the committee.
Did you say the second Thursday or the second?
January the 2nd.
Okay, I'll be out of town until the
You out of
6th.
town?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, Scott and Adam.
What day?
January the 2nd or the 3rd? January the 3rd. Either one.
Second.
6 is a Sunday, 5,
Second is a
4, 3,
Tuesday,
2.
right?
Wednesday. It's a Wednesday.
The 3rd is a Wednesday.
No, Wednesday and
The
Thursday.
3rd is a Thursday. So I won't be here on the 2nd. I'll be back on the 3rd.
That's a
So
Thursday.
So how about Thursday the 4th?
Friday.
Thursday's the 3rd.
Friday is the 4th. Friday afternoon works for me.
Yeah, I think it gives you time to.
He's not gonna be here Friday.
Friday the 4th.
You gone on weekend?
Yeah, I'll be back on the 7th, so it'll be the 8th, actually.
Okay, so you will be in until the 8th.
Do we have a meeting on the 9th?
Correct.
We do.
Second and fourth Wednesday. Our standard meeting, second.
So either Wednesday morning or
Let me look at the 3rd. I can do the 3rd,
3rd?
but it's gonna have to either be like super early or super late, because I've already scheduled all day to work that day.
Depends on what you
I'll
want.
take the late.
Late?
Late, can we do after 5:30?
Yeah,
Okay.
it shouldn't take long.
Okay,
20, 30 minutes.
okay, great. We'll aim for 5:30 then, on the 3rd.
Thank you. And
We'll be a little
next,
touchy from some holiday work.
the next that I have here is just a reminder that we have the banquet, the employee banquet, awards banquet on the 15th, this coming Saturday. And we'd like the whole board to be there and employees, just so we can have a nice dinner and give out the awards that the employees deserve. So expect you guys there at 7:30, 7:30? Okay,
You have some
and
invitation.
y'all have an invitation already.
You gave it to us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You do.
Thank you for that.
Yes. The other one that I have here is a regular meeting on the December the 26th. Normally what we do is cancel that meeting because employees traveling, out of town, and board members also doing the same thing. Trying to have time off for the holidays. So it's up to y'all.
Cancel it.
Okay.
Unless there's something pending that's important that needs to be
Oh,
taken
we-
care of.
If there's anything, we'll bring it back, 27, 28, or, we say like, we need a
If you need a special
emergency meeting or whatever it is, if there's an emergency,
Okay.
we'll call you back anyhow.
Otherwise, you're just gonna do this regular standard meeting in January.
Yes, right, on the 9th. Y'all okay? Okay. That's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Carlos.
I got a question.
Yes.
Do we have do you have an update on the manhole there on Gulf
Yes,
Boulevard?
yes, I do. This morning, we had a meeting with our staff and Joey Solinas. He mentioned that they had completed the whole manhole. They just, since last Friday, I think, they completed it. The only thing is that they needed the asphalt. They put the caliche and then the concrete around the ring.
Yeah.
But the asphalt needed to come back, when it settles down a little bit more.
Right now, okay.
Another
Thank you.
5 more days maybe. And then they had the asphalt on top and that's it.
Now, on another, remember that area in front of the old Sunchase Mall, where we went and patched up
Right.
in front of that one business? There's still a spot next to it. Is that still our responsibility, or is that?
No, that's their responsibility
Okay.
because they're supposed to fill it with concrete.
Okay.
And I've seen that part. It's
Okay.
a small area, like 3 by 6 maybe.
The
or
drain
8.
area where they're working on, that's
They need
the
to concrete it.
property owner and the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed these 3 pipes coming out
Right.
that I'm not sure, I just want to make sure we're not.
Yeah, no, it's not, it's their responsibility
Okay.
to complete that.
Property, it's a property drainage.
Right. Okay, then we have the next item. Mr. Gomez.
Moving to item number 9, Robert?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the monthly report that I usually present that has to do with service calls and call-outs, and the difference between that, service calls is during the day, call-outs are at night, where our managers are on call and they go out and take care of anything that comes up, or any calls that come up. As far as for the month of November, we had 285 on the distribution side, and they're set up in different headings here on the top, and then they're broken down below as to what they relate to. On the collection side, on the shore side, we had 81 service calls, call-outs. 2 of them line stoppage. The one that I do want to bring up is the odor complaint, because we recently had a odor complaint from a resident from the golf course. And just to let you all know that we are working on it. We are looking at different avenues. I know the odor committee has been pretty busy and diligently working at trying to resolve odors, not only in that area, but throughout the district. But to address this specific area, one of the things that we're going to try is to put a cover on it, as we have in the lift stations. But the problem with that is that it really just has a lot of odor, a lot of gas that is going to be held there, and is very detrimental to the concrete and to everything that we have in there.
Is that
So-
area reoccurring? Is it a reoccurring area, or is it just an isolated
Well, what happens,
complaint on this one?
the reason that we're having complaints on this is because it's usually from the north wind that's blowing all the odor into the golf course. Normally, we have the prevailing south winds, which blows the odor to the north, and nobody ever notices because there's nothing to the north of the plant. And that's why it hadn't really been brought up, because that particular house is fairly new. I understand that the owners just moved in there recently, and so now that we've been having a lot of north winds, it's becoming more of a nuisance at this point. But we are working on it.
That's
Charles, did you?
Laguna Vista wastewater treatment plant that you're
Right.
talking about.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we've never tried to do any odor control measures in Laguna Vista. And so starting up last week, we got with Microsoft, who's the person who treats several areas throughout the system. And we got, actually, today, we're starting off at Bethpage, because that's a real low flow area. That lift station only turns on maybe once a week. So the sewer's sitting in there for a long time, which is probably causing it to go septic. So we're going to start, basically, we're going to start injecting Microsoft there to start treating it at that point. And then from there, it pumps over to lift station 1, which is on Mesquite, running down Taylor. And so at that point, that would be kind of our next step if Bethpage isn't, doing enough for us. And then on Mesquite and Taylor, or Mesquite in Laguna Vista, that's a pressure main that runs all the way down 510 on Ocelot. It manifolds by pressure. And then, that's a 2-mile force main that goes directly to the sewer plant. And so at that sewer plant, that raw sewage is coming in, and that's your worst point that's generating odor there on Holly Beach Road. And so we're talking about a basin that's 12 foot by 6 foot, 4 foot deep, and we're going to start, figuring out a way to contain that odor or scrub it at that point. And so we're actually, I shot the email to the manufacturer today where we gave him the hydrogen sulfide concentrations and the airflow rate, so he can start giving us some quotes to see how we can put a filter. We're working with Cineco. We've already used that. We have purchased a manhole scrubber and installed it at 410 Plaza there at the bus stop in Padre, and it's been very effective. I mean, inside that pipeline, you're talking 996 parts per million of sulfide, and you can be standing on top of that manhole while it's venting, and you don't smell anything. So we're gonna,
What are our readings
Oh, our readings there at the Headworks.
at Holly Beach?
Yeah, on Holly Beach on December 6th in the late afternoon, 6:30. That was the worst time, and it got up to 250 parts per million. And when it's over 10, that's
When was our last reading? Because I know when we looked at it, I stood up there on top of the basin he's referring to. It smells. There's no doubt about it.
And at the time you were standing there, the reading
I
was...
almost touched the railing. Don't touch the railing.
Yeah.
I touched the railing.
Well, what blew me away is when you were standing there observing the odor, the reading was 4 parts per million, and the spikes on our profile in the evening are 250.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely, and you said anything over 10.
Yeah, you
something
gotta
should be
address
done.
it. Yeah.
So you'll follow up once you hear back from the supplier, who's gonna hopefully build a cover and then build something to vent those gases and scrub out the sulfides?
Yeah, the cover might have to come from a third party, but he'll do the scrubber part, and so we'll just kind of work and put it all together.
You had also mentioned there was a place where there was a valve. And
Yeah.
that hadn't been opened in a long time.
Yeah,
You were gonna open it?
because whenever there's dropping that profile, there's going to be an air pocket, and that can create problems with causing the pumps to have hammer issues.
Mhm.
We're talking 2-mile pipeline,
Yeah.
and so at that box tunnel where the golf carts cross under 510, there's a big drop in the force main to get under it.
Mhm.
And so back in the day, we had installed the force main, the air release valve there ourselves, and we would just run it manually. Once a week, we just go out there, open it, let up the air, and then close it back up. But now we have a scrubber or some kind of odor control in place where we can let the air release valve function at all times, but we'll be putting it through a scrubber.
So is that happening, or is going to happen, or has to be brought for a vote to happen?
Well, we're going to get quotes, and we'll see what
Okay.
kind of dollars we're dealing with. It's the same vendor for the Cineco. I just sent them here at 5 o'clock. We're looking at getting a quote for a scrubber there at the Holly Beach Basin, the air relief valve, and we're also going to buy the replacement parts to get the air release valve back in service because it doesn't work today.
Okay.
And so those are going to be the 2 points on top of feeding Microsoft at Bethpage, and also on Ocelot, that lift station there, right there, at First House. Also last week, when we got Microsoft, we got a bubbler system, and we dropped it in there. That bubbler breaks up the grease, so that'll help, be resolving issues, which is already in service.
So what is our next step, and when will it happen?
Oh, basically getting the replacement parts for the air release valve, getting that back in service, and then working with Cineco and get quotes, and then we can figure out how to get through procurement to get it in the ground.
Okay, great. So will you email, because I know we've been emailing about it, just keep me up to date. As soon as we get a quote, we'll just keep rolling with it.
Yep.
Because there's just a lot more homes being built in that area, so.
Yeah, I think I heard the
makes
number's
sense.
42, so, yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, it's never a good idea to build next to a sewage facility.
Yep.
And there's a lot of smell concerns throughout this district. And of course, the golf course is one. So what we've been working on, Alex and I and the staff for some period of time, are different methods, different costs, different ways to treat it. And the grease issue is the biggest cause of the smell. So that's one thing that has to be tackled with all these other remediation efforts.
Right. In January, we're looking at bringing up the grease control requirements and adding that to our service policy, and that'll give us enforcement power to make people clean their grease traps, get them sized correctly. We're going to be adding all those kind of measures to our service policy.
Is this the only sewer treatment facility in our district, or is there
No, we have
multiple?
4.
There's 4?
Port Isabel is one. That's 1.1 million gallons per day. And then Laguna Heights, just by opening and closing valves, you can either send it to Port Isabel or Laguna Vista.
And there's communities that already exist around the other 3?
Yeah, Isla Blanca, there's a sewer plant right there when you do the loop at Channelview, and then at Birding Center, it's built around a sewer plant.
So they don't have the luxury of not developing. There's already a
Right.
development that has occurred, so
Right.
proper measurements should be taken so that we could alleviate this in all of our community, would be my opinion. Thank you for all your work and the communication around this topic.
And that was part of the reason that we really started looking into the odor control, because we did start getting a lot of complaints from Isla Blanca as well.
Of course, and I've heard about them. I heard they're even worse than the one we're talking about, so. Thanks for
Because
the
they
work.
get the prevailing south wind,
Yeah, poor guys.
unfortunately.
So it's really a matter of 1, prevention by knocking out the grease, and then 2, intervention by doing something to help control those sulfides and other nasty gases.
Yeah, there's stages of chemical injection and then just creating a vacuum and putting the air through a filter, scrub it.
All right. Any other questions on
We've
any of
been
these?
doing this report for over a year, right?
It'll be a year come January, February. Yes.
Because once we have the anniversary of these reports, I'd like to see November of
anything else that you wanted to mention
No,
about
no,
that
that's great.
committee?
That's a good point.
Because I know that we picked the November report.
Yeah, especially when we got those new meters in, I'd like to see these meter calls drop way off.
Well, a lot of these calls are not gonna drop off. What will drop off a lot is like changing meters.
Yeah, that's the ones I'm talking about.
That's one of them, and the other one is having to do meter tests. At least not on the offset. We'll probably do a lot more meter testing with the new meters because of the customers that are gonna be complaining about their bills, since the meter is gonna be more efficient. So, at least that's what I'm looking at, and I'm anticipating, that to happen. Check and repair, that should drop off because the new meter system will let us know ahead of time, when it's already, it's leaking, so we can inform the customer at that point, that they do have a leak within a week's time. It'll take approximately 4 days to verify that that there is a leak out there in the customer's area. And, work on angle valves, we're gonna be doing that when we install meters, so some of that will, not all of it, but most of it will go away. The other report that I had is along with the installation of the meters that we're going into. This is the reading statistics, and I just wanted to point out the first line there for the month of November on all three cycles, which is the unreads. When you look down at the monthly total, 1,870 for the month of November. That is the number of times that we have had to send meter readers back to the house or to the different locations to read the meters because they weren't able to read the meters with the drive-by. So we had to go back, and which takes a lot of time, and it's been taking at least 2 crews.
Most of the reasons for that,
Most of that deal with the transmitters that are going out and the meters that are going out. So we have to, that's why we're changing in with the AMI system. That's why we're going into the AMI system to alleviate
so
most of this.
that unread meter that you had to go look at this month because it was a bad meter, if the meter hasn't been changed out, you'll probably have to go look at it again next
Yes.
month.
Well, right now, some of these unread meters, at least around 200, a little over 200, are the new meters because that new meter has to be activated, and it's going to go to the cloud-based database system that Mueller is putting up, which will come back to Encode to and then it'll be communicating back and forth between Encode and the Mueller database. And the Mueller database, of course, is going to be getting all the information from the meters that are installed. But it takes 3 different clicks with the handheld to activate that meter. And they haven't completed that cloud database. They should, from what message that I read today, it should be completed within another week. So we'll have some of this drop off, but we'll have others that are still going up, the old meters that we're going to be going out there to test or read.
So not, even though they're installed, none of them are active?
They're active to the point that they're reading, but they're not active to the point that it's being picked up by the Mueller database and coming back to Encode.
Our timing is good.
I'm sorry?
Our timing is good for replacement.
Yes.
How far along are we on the installation?
From the installation, the PMI, the company that's going to install them, is coming in on the 7th of January to start installing. We were supposed to have started back in mid-October and just get pushed back. And now because of the holidays, they didn't want to come in December because they take the last 2 weeks off. So they didn't want to come in for 2 weeks and then be gone for 2 weeks. So they decided to come in on the 7th. We have been installing meters and at the same time reading the meters, but we've had to put a lot of the crews, some of the crews that we wanted to used for the installation. We have to use them for reading the meters. So we haven't been installing as many as we want to on a weekly basis. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Number 10, District Engineers Report, Charles.
All right, so we're just giving you an update on Long Island Village, just to kind of, recap, to kind of give some information here to our board members, our new board members. Right now, as far as lines that belong to the district in Long Island Village, all we have is a 24-inch main that just, crosses the Intracoastal Channel from South Point Marina, runs along the Sea Cottages, and then comes up the main road, through the gate, and then just continues onto the old bridge. And so off of that main line, there's just, 3 or 4 master meters, and then the system beyond that's private. And so that's all outdoor resorts. It was built in the 80s. Nothing is sub-metered, and most of those water lines are built along the seawalls. And so it's an aged, system, a lot of leaks. And then with our, master meter, they have a 6-inch meter exceeding 1 million gallons a month. So that's getting into higher tiered rates. And so what they're trying to do is rebuild their system, get it put in the streets under dedicated easements, and then through that essentially new construction, we could inspect it, consider accepting it back into our system. And then we'd have to look at putting metered lots, for the 1,024 deeded lots, and then the common areas would all get their individual meters. So we, resolve basically an unmetered condition that they have out there. And so they had an engineer do a report, I think Vanguard Engineering a while back, and then they brought in Sigler Winston Greenwood, which Jose Reyes is here. I don't know if you want to kind of come in and sort of give some information on where it's moving forward or where we're at. But they're basically working and trying to revise the cost estimates for Long Island Village for both the water and the sewer rehab needs that are out there.
Jose Reyes, and with Sigler Winston Greenwood. Yeah, we've been engaged by Long Island Village. We have done preliminary cost estimates, and we've been sharing that information with these. We look at replacing the whole water line, the whole wastewater lines or sewer lines, and obviously look into the reconstruction of the roads that we want to be disturbing by doing the actual construction. As right now, we're looking about more or less the preliminary numbers that we have run. We're looking at about $15 million overall cost of the project.
How much?
$15 million. That's including all the design fees and all the engineering probable construction costs.
Yeah, for the water side, we're at 5.5 million,
Yes.
and that's excluding the tap fees. So we'd be happy to add tap fees for 1,024 residential connections on top of that. So,
The minimum that
yeah.
we might be looking at probably be like 10 million if we get into, deducting some items. But more or less, we look at about 50 million overall. Like I said, this is still preliminary. We just went and gathered information. This is only an opinion of, engineer's opinion of probable cost. So that's what we're dealing with. But we've been sharing all the information with Charles, and we're working on it as we speak.
yeah, and then part of it's trying to figure out the authority of how it's going to be paid, or how, the Long Island Village residents are going to pay for the Long Island Village improvements, being that essentially they're a condominium owners association.
Pay for $15 million worth of.
Yeah, I mean, their authority is to dredge channels, and so we're the ones who have the authority for water, as far as getting state loans, that sort of thing. So we'd have to figure out, what to create to facilitate the project.
Who?
Well, yes, it's the board's discretion.
But they're gonna do, if they go through with this, they're gonna be doing all the installation of all their equipment, all their lines.
They'd have to do everything to our specs for us to incorporate it into our system.
So we're just
Great.
kind of holding their hand as they walk through this and try to figure out how they're gonna fund it and install it and all that.
Yeah, well, if they're going to try to seek funds through Texas Water Development Board, I mean, we'd have to sponsor, it'd have to go through us, and then we'd have to devise a method of repayment. So,
Which I don't mind doing, but we're not accepting any responsibility or.
And that's the route we seeking the funds. It's going
Right.
through Texas Water Development Board.
I mean, I can see us helping them with that, but
Right.
we're not liable or securing or signing or anything.
That is correct. I mean, that's the way it's, that's the way it's been stated since the beginning. And like like you mentioned, we follow all your guidelines for installation and metering all the the services.
I'm just curious of what kind of, if we should, at some point, request some legal opinion on just how much we can dig in or support or do or whatever. And the only reason I mentioned that is because of the type of property it is, in that they don't own the land.
It's not even leasehold, it's leasehold property.
So
Well, from discussions with Long Island, where it used to be property of Port Isabel San Benito
It's not
Navigation
used
District.
property, It's leasehold property.
Okay, so they haven't changed that? I've heard that it's been changed, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
My
and-
knowledge, it has not
Okay.
been.
Yeah, and
Herb, you know any different, or?
no, and that-
Oh,
that's
still
my
leased,
main concern with that, is that we make sure that we do have legal rights to help them the way we're planning to help them. At some point, we're gonna need to request that opinion.
Anyway,
All right.
that's all we have for now.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the only item for the report today, so.
Project.
Yeah, it is.
Anything else, Charles?
No, that concludes the engineer's report.
Moving to item number 11, consider and discuss for possible approval the end-of-year budget adjustments for the fiscal year 2017 through 2018.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
members of the board, Mr. Eddie left me this one because he's in training, but this is the last budget adjustment for 2017, 2018, and it kind of cleans up the end of the year for the auditors to come in and do their part. So this one needs just approval from the board to move forward with it.
The one line item? Oh, no, the other.
So
What this does, Mr. Chairman, is that adjusted the budget to actual expenses, and that's what the auditors use in their audit report.
So it's kind of similar to, basically, it's the same amount of money.
Yes.
We just
Yeah,
moved
no,
around.
The money's
same as
different, it's
It's
just
the balance
switches
sheet.
to different accounts to make
Right.
sure to cover any overdrawns on one account where you have left over in another account.
Kind of like implementing an effective tax, in a sense, where you need
Similar.
to adjust your tax rate to the expenditure.
that's all it is, so.
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Motion made by Mr. Avalos, seconded by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Move to item number 12, consider and discuss for possible approval of cost of living adjustment, COLA. Mr. Gavon?
Yes, we had that, the workshop discussing all this information, the staff decided that if the board could increase the 5% COLA, and that's all I have. Is there any questions on the numbers that I have provided?
I have a question on and it's really, I don't mind approving the COLA. I think we, in a sense, shortchanged ourselves by not giving ourselves much more time than the 2 months or whatever we worked on it. I would like to see a more comprehensive study done on our compensation by an outside firm, and just to kind of weigh out the scenario, which I think I've mentioned to some of you before, is what is the acceptable turnover? What is our benefits package? What relationship does it have to that turnover? I think we can do a better job of looking into a compensation package, and I would recommend that we do that. That way we can get not just for our benefit, but for future pay increases, instead of just like shooting from the hip, we need to do something, I understand that, and I'm more than happy to do that. But I think that we deserve to have more information, more thorough, from an outside agency, not try to do it internally. It's very complicated, it's hard.
It is.
And that way, and I would even suggest that there might be a way that we can partner up with the university and through maybe one of their internship programs that we can get this done. If we can just reach out to them and try to make that contact, I think that would be a good
Are
avenue.
you referring directly to the STEP program or to?
I'm not
COLA?
sure.
The COLA is a pretty standard.
Yes.
That's a standard
Yeah.
standalone item. The
Yeah.
STEP program, I agree that it should be, the continuing consultant or an additional should factor it in. We're just kind of,
Yeah, no, I don't have a
Putting it
problem
through.
with the COLA, but I would like to see them, I would like to see us continue looking into this and to come up with a more comprehensive compensation package.
In doing a comprehensive study, are we talking about doing the, looking at different areas as far as positions with the job they do and the job we do?
When I
and
looked at
comparing
some-
salaries?
Yes, sir. When I looked at some of the numbers from the workshop, when I looked at some of that, and I think that's where it was, what I noticed was that where we're kind of off on the pay scale front, and this is just based on the people that responded to our request, where I noticed where there's a big gap in pay is in the managers. In the non-licensed departments, we're not that far off from what other people are paying, the ones that responded. And mind you, not very many responded. So I don't feel like we did enough to get that information, you know, and it's nobody's fault, it's just a question of timing, you know, we wanted to do this, and so we wanted to do it this year. I just think that we can do that, but we can also continue to look into how we can better improve that compensation package and find out, you know, are we competitive in our benefits? You know,
And that's what the professional companies do. They come in
Yeah.
and ask all the questions and they have already all the information available because that's what they do.
right.
So,
I
and
think-
they
I think
compare
it's
the whole
worth-
state, not just,
Yeah.
Can I suggest, Chairman,
Yeah.
that the next item on our agenda
Deal with it.
discusses
Deal with it.
everything you're talking about?
yes.
so just deal with
The
that.
COLA
item.
is
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah.
And the way I look at the COLA is just a means of an employer keeping the purchasing power of their employees up to date.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't consider
Totally.
a COLA a pay raise. I just consider it you trying to keep up to pay your bills. And we haven't had a COLA since 2011, over 6 years. So I feel very comfortable in recommending a 5% COLA, a one-time this year COLA. Now for 2019, and this will not be part of my motion, but for 2019, in December of 2019, then I would like to see another COLA payment indexed to something in 2019. So that every year the employees get the COLA as a one-time adjustment in December, rather than divided up into 26 separate little paychecks. So I'm going to make a motion right now that we go ahead and go with 5% COLA at this time.
A second.
Motion made by Mr. Houston, second one with Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Moving to item number 13, consider and discuss for possible approval of adopting a new revised pay scale plan, resolution number 168-12-18.
This is the step,
This
Yeah,
is the step
goes to
program.
exactly
what he's talking about.
I agree with Alex
I have
100%.
in all due respect to what's been communicated in the workshop that I was present in along with other members of the board, you know, I found out that there's, I believe, 8 members of this community in this district that, you know, have been long overdue for a step for, you know, and they would be the ones that are directly affected by this step. You know, maybe we don't do 20 steps, but I think we should consider increasing our steps. You know, in 13 steps and you reach a max pay, you know, all of a sudden PUB is a lot more attractive. And I think as a district, if we invest that much time and attention to our employees, to mold them into the employees that we have here, which are great employees, from what I've been exposed to, you know, we should increase steps. Whether we do 20 or 15, I think there should be an increase. And you know, and I appreciate the fact that we try to save costs by doing it in-house. I thought, you know, the information you provided me with was great in regards to communicating your point. And the point is, we got a lot of turnover. We got a lot of employees that are living and means that they shouldn't be living. And I thought the managers that were present in that workshop did a great job of speaking on behalf of the employees that they represent and some of the hard times that they've fallen on. And I think that we should look into increasing the steps. I mean, I was prepared to increase them tonight. I don't know if 20, it has to be 20, or if we could at least increase it to 14, because I know there's 8 members that are looking for an increase, and I don't think 14 would be terrible, and then we can look at increasing it more, in a future meeting when we gather more information, but I would be more for increasing at least 1 step, if not 2, tonight.
I think the steps definitely need to be increased. Just increasing 1 or 2, I think it falls short. But I agree with Scott that maybe we need to take a little bit of time to look at the step issue and the pay issue concurrently. And if we have to put this off 30 days, I don't think anybody hurts by that.
I don't see a reason that we should not tonight increase it 20 to 20 steps, and then go and, if we want to do a study this year and get the conclusions of that study, then vote on whatever the study is. But if we can approve this for the gentleman now, it's not going to hurt anything. There's nobody that's going to go from 13 to 20 tomorrow anyways.
Right.
So we could make it 50. It's not really going to matter. We've said that anybody who works 50 years, by the way, good for you. But, we discussed it at length at the workshop. It makes sense. It's only a 2.5 increase a year. We're talking about 8 to 10 guys who are going to go from 13 to 14, and I'd say let's go ahead with it. We'll bump it up, just in case the board doesn't take action any further. At least it's done, and then let's keep investigating. And I think we got to do what Mr. Houston said. We need to adjust. We need to index COLA to whatever is appropriate. Maybe that's the federal Social Security. There's lots of different COLA adjustments that we can index it to. But let's do that so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every year, and they don't have to go 7 years without an appropriate COLA raise. COLA's gone up 7 or 6 out of the last 8 years, and we've gone 0. So they got their 5%. I suggest we give them up to 20 in the tiers right now, and then if we come up with something else, great. But at least we've done this, and we don't have to worry about it, and they don't have to worry about it.
Let me ask some questions, Mr. Galvan. If we go to 20, I don't have a problem going to 20, but some of these people that have been stuck at a step for several years, will they just go up 1, or will they go up?
They'll go like everybody else, like 1 step.
What I'm saying is that Joe Doe out here is bumping his
Advanced
maximum,
5
and
steps.
he's bumped it for 5 years. Will he now all of a sudden jump 5 or just jump 1?
Well, 1, because the board has already approved a couple of years back, one compensation, and then this past year before the new board came in, we did another one. So we're okay right now, except for next year.
So during a pay review, nobody's going to go up more than 1, 13 to 14. And we talked about this the other day, right?
Yeah, so whoever's stuck at 13 will be granted 14, but they're not going to be granted 20.
Oh, no, right.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion,
Anything
Adam.
else?
I make a motion that we approve it as discussed at the workshop, raising it to 20 tiers.
Not second.
Motion made by Mr. Lon, seconded by Mr. Stark. Dr. Lon, seconded by Mr. Starkey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion, please. Go ahead and amend that to do the study that you're talking about, or does that need to be a separate action?
It's
See a separate action.
Okay,
That's a whole
then I
other.
withdraw.
It's a motion made by Dr. Lon and seconded by Mr. Starkey. All those in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
The board does recognize you.
Thank you.
Moving to item number 14, consider and discuss for possible approval of ratifying emergency purchase for water plant 2.
Thanks. Sorry, Jack.
Do we want to let anybody go home who was waiting on that important news? You guys don't have to sit here the whole time. We will not be offended.
Mr. Chairman, gentlemen of the board, we're asking to ratify 2 payments here, primarily because they were done on an emergency basis, and we didn't really take the time to go out and get bids. We were having problems with the water plant, number 2. It kept going off, and our electricians, our internal guys, the electricians kept working on it. They bring it back up, and it goes back down again. And after several attempts, on the 16th, it went off for the weekend, right before the weekend before Thanksgiving. And the following week, when we came back on the 19th, Charles got a hold of the company that helped us with it when we did the microfiltration.
Yeah, the equipment supplier, because the transfer switch and breaker was obtained from a third party, not the the main contract. And so it was a GE or Zenith transfer switch and breaker. And so basically, from the alarm codes, we were seeing that it was a ground fault. So something in the system was causing that ground fault. It was going to be something hard to find. And so they referred us to Sabre Power, who was up in San Antonio. But we were looking at getting them down here Thanksgiving. So Friday after Thanksgiving was at triple pay. And so they referred us to a closer power system provider out of Dallas. And then we were able to get those guys down here on Wednesday before Thanksgiving to start troubleshooting. And we narrowed it down to that breaker being bad. And so, that coastal power systems, they're up in Talbot. To get that breaker down here on Thanksgiving would have been about $15,000. And so we went ahead and just made the call to just stay on the generator through the holiday weekend and work with it on Monday so we don't have to mess around with any more holiday pay. And so that's how these final costs ended up coming about.
I have a question.
sir.
Do we have any recourse with Bang Gen, the people who provided the breaker?
No. To my understanding is that when this breaker was installed, there should have been a study made to I guess, to
There's
set it.
a coordination study where like Eaton Systems, they tell you what settings to put for your breakers and
So
all
did
your
we
electrical.
install a less than adequate breaker? Is that what we did?
Well, the thing is, the settings, the trip settings were turned all the way up, and versus
That
if you
damaged
have it at minimum settings, you should just barely be adjusting it to where it's not going to trip. And we don't know what those settings are supposed to be
Okay.
because it wasn't included in the coordination study. And so we're having to correct that as well.
We do have a requisition currently that we're asking for that coordination study to be done so that we can set this new breaker with the new settings that it's supposed to have.
So that was on us. That's something we
Yes, sir.
should have done.
It should have been done.
Right.
And I attached a copy of the breaker so that you all can see what it is that was replaced.
Well, the money was spent with an emergency, so I move we approve it.
A second.
Motion made by Mr. Houston, second by Mr. Starkey. All those in favor?
Aye.
They are. All opposed?
So how much was the new breaker and all that?
The breaker was 8,502, and then the labor for the getting the South Texas Power Systems was 4,390.
Anything over 5,000 requires a motion. There was, you already passed it.
I'm sorry?
You passed it.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
Moving to.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Consider and discuss for possible approval of payment for the rental of a 60-foot long reach excavator to remove sludge from the water treatment plant to sludge dune.
Chairman, members of the board, we advertise and request for quotes for the rental of a long reach excavator that is needed for the sludge lagoon from the water treatment plant number 2, and we are recommending going with Texas State equipment. It's the cheapest quote that we have.
We like cheap. Where's it go when we remove it? The sludge? What do we do with it? Because this is the excavator, right? Take it out?
Yes.
Where we're gonna be
Pretty close.
letting it dry out, and if we need to, we can move it and polish the mouth, but if not, we're in the middle of getting an application to leave it permission.
Yeah,
Thanks,
the waste
Noe.
pile is good for 2 years, and then that should give us enough time to get the permit in place for the permanent land application sites.
I'll move we approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Avalo, second by Mr. Starkey.
Thank
All those in favor?
Aye.
They
I
are.
got a question, Noe, on the big pond, the one to the west. That Well, how far are we from having to dig that one out?
Not very far. We're doing,
Next year?
no, not next year, but,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we can plan something like that out. It's gonna be, a big project.
That's a big project.
Yeah, well, we are hurting ourselves by, having to bypass the lagoon right now. So, I mean, you're talking, at the inlet, right now, you're looking at maybe 5 to 7 feet sludge. So, I mean, you're down to 8, 7 feet of water, and you're seeing sludge there, so.
Okay.
I mean, on the opposite end of it, you're looking at somewhere between 3, 4 feet of sludge. And you're talking an 11-foot depth.
Moving on. None opposed, motion does carry. 16, consider and discuss for possible approval of the 5-year capital improvement plan.
Yeah, this is the same item presented on Saturday of the workshop. The only addition has been adding a line item for manhole rehab, so we can start looking at Gulf Boulevard. And just in that same line, just like emergency sewer pipe repairs, we have classes. And so as far as, the available funding that we had to assign to that was $9,000. So that's what we put in for this year. And then we just kind of have $30,000 on an annual basis. And as we start identifying manholes, we'll try to replace them before they collapse, on an unplanned condition. So that's.
You're hoping to just rehab one a year?
Well,
It's 2 per
that's,
year,
I mean,
roughly.
we'll have to figure out where to find money and going from there.
At that rate, is roughly 2 a year you can do.
I know you all
Yeah.
got a handout before the meeting. You see at the second page, item number 77. That's where that item's gonna be at. At least for the one we've already repaired.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So cover the 9,000 off from there. You all seen that item 77, manhole? That one. So at least we have that fund to repair the one, or pay the one that we rehabbed last week. Up in the island. So that's only changes from Saturday's workshop, nothing else. Any other questions on the,
So there's nothing in here to cover additional
not at this time.
manhole
I think there's a,
inspection, repair?
Yeah, well, we'd have to, it's kind of like the odor control where we need to cost it out and then amend the capital improvement plan down the road.
And identify which ones you need to do.
Identify further down.
Right.
Which ones need,
Right.
and how many?
and how many?
Yeah,
correct.
it's all, we have to do the condition assessment to tie that down better.
So that's step one, right?
Yeah.
And is there any particular sequence or order, or?
Well, I mean, we know that, I mean, we're looking at age manholes, like Gulf Boulevard, we've had those history of breaks. We know that line's, it's fiberglass, so we'd have to look at, lining or doing repairs that are for fiberglass manholes. And just, with it being aged and,
That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Because I saw that hole, and
Oh,
it is
Very
unbelievable that something like that just, is there. Yeah.
yeah,
That was scary.
that line's deep, it has a lot of sand in it. Our back truck should be coming in February. That'll give us better means to maintain that line. And then we can start, looking closer at those manholes and try to catch them before.
I
they
think
go.
what we're gonna need is that backhoe before we start doing any of that.
You live on the island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some good shovels?
Oh, yeah.
Just in
We got
case.
shovels.
Maybe walk around with one in your pocket in case you end up at the bottom of one.
That was scary.
Get out, yeah, it's scary
I
because
mean,
they're deep.
that fit half
Way
a
deep.
car in there.
Back to item 16, this is a consider for possible approval.
I'll move to approve.
This is a motion made by Mr. Avalos,
Second.
seconded by Dr. Lund. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are, none opposed, motion carries, thank you. Moving to 18, consider and remove from the table the following item tabled at the regular meeting on November 28, 2018. Consider professional services committee meeting on December 4, 2018 at 3 p.m. for engineering services for 18 lift stations and Port Isabel wastewater treatment plant sludge holding tank RFQ number WW-18-11-01. Motion to take it off the table? Motion made by Mr. Houston.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Motion carries. Off the table. 19, consider professional services committee meeting on December 4, 2018 at 3 p.m. for engineering services for 18 lift stations at Port Isabel wastewater treatment plant sludge holding tank RFQ WW18-11-01. Charles?
All right. Well, this is just, there are 9 proposals, so this is one stack and a score sheet. And I'll hand it over to our new member of.
Sweet. Welcome to the
So, Alex received his packet yesterday. The staff has pretty much completed reviews already. So we're looking at maybe trying to shoot for our first meeting, possibly December 19th in the morning, if it fits both y'all's schedules.
You don't do it on the 26th?
Oh, well, I'll be here. But,
That's fine, yeah, I'm.
Can we do the 19th, and is the morning work for you by any chance?
I'm flexible.
I'm too, during a work day, so
So
19th is...
when were you looking at?
Yeah, 19th around 8:30 in the morning?
19th would be,
Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, a week from today. And then we could also have a follow-up meeting. That can be maybe our first. Go from there.
okay,
Does that work?
yeah.
Works for me.
What time?
8:30 a.m.
8:30 a.m.
Here or at Starbucks?
Now we can meet upstairs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, well,
Thanks, Alex.
And I would also urge the committee looking into these to examine the proposals and see if any of these firms have lower cost alternatives than the ones we originally lined out. So if you have a firm that comes forward and says, look, I can do it for less money, get you.
Yeah, there's statements in there addressing those issues.
Thank you, Charles.
I'm sorry, I didn't get all that. Heard what?
I'm just saying, if, we put out an RFQ, we're gonna get this done, but sometimes a firm can say, look, I can suggest a better and less expensive way to do it, if you wanna go that route. And I'd like to look at all the alternatives.
Okay.
Not necessarily just the one that,
Not just what
the
they're
easiest
presenting.
one the engineer comes up with.
Right.
Okay. Moving on to 20, consider and review the expenditures for November 1 through the 30th. Any questions about any of the expenditures, comments, or anyone in particular? I need to acknowledge them.
So moved.
Acknowledged
I'll
by
second.
Mr. Houston, seconded by Mr. Avalos. All those acknowledged, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you. Moving to item number 21, executive session permitted by the Open Meetings Act, VTCA Government Code Section 551001, head sequence under Section 551071, consultation with attorney. We do not have the attorney here at this time. Discussion on legal matters with counsel concerning open records requests. Do we want to continue this? We do not have our counsel here, or do we want to postpone this?
Postpone.
Postpone? Okay. Guess we need a motion to
I
table
move
this.
to table, move to table.
Postpone it, which is the same thing.
Yeah,
Motion to table it by Dr. Lund,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Item is tabled. 22, consider action on executive sessions if necessary. The item has been tabled. Item 23, meeting is adjourned at 6:37 PM.